Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show, and welcome back, Taja Clarke. Great to have you here, our founder of Down and Out Consulting, based out of the Bronx in New York. Welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm very excited to be back. I'm doing great. It's been a while.
It has been. We spoke a long time ago, about over a year ago. We try to remember when, right? And such a sweet soul and a lot of work. And I'm sure there's a lot more experience under your belt. We're going to hear some more good stories about the work you're doing with mentoring and coaching. So let's get started. Just tell us a little about what it is that you do to start, Taja.
Well, I am somewhat of a life coach. I help people through navigating chapters of their life, getting from one place to another. Mainly what I do is just talk to you. I listen to what you have to say. I help make it make sense to you. And then we make a plan based on what you want to do and how to make it happen for yourself. It's just been a lot of talking and listening, basically.
Thank you. Well, let me hear about your background for those that don't know. It's hear it. Where are you from? How'd you get in this field? Let's do back to our basics backstory, if you don't mind.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm Taja Clarke. Well, now I'm Taja Clarke Tingman. But this came to be during a time, I believe, in COVID, when I just got I think I just got my associates. I had my first job. I was working in insurance, and I thought I was killing it. I was not. I was doing very bad. So I was doing my job. COVID happened, and they had a bunch of layoffs. Because I was the most recent hire, I was the first one to go because I had the least seniority. And at that point, I was down and out. I didn't know exactly what to do. I didn't know what my next steps are. Financially, I think I was starting to use my security blanket. Time went on, and it started to kind of thin out, and I'm just here like, what am I going to do? I don't want to be in a situation like this where I have to just figure out my next steps. I don't have anything to fall back on. My security fund is now slashed, and I'm really back at zero. So that's when the company Down and Out came. How do I get from being down and out to in better situations? That's how it birthed the company. It's now an official company as of January of this year, but that's the background for it. I got into this coaching because I always had a talent talking to people. Like, I would just walk up to people and they'll tell me their life stories about how this happened or that happened. And I'm just here like, okay, hello to you too. I just said hi and that's all that came out. But I realized I had a talent. People felt comfortable talking to me and I was good trying to help them get to where they wanted to be. So I just figured, let me just make a company out of this. I'm good at it anyway. Let me just find a way to get paid for it. And that's kind of how it came to be.
And so how many years now have you been doing this work for?
About 4 years unofficially.
Great. Unofficially, you say that. Go ahead. Why unofficially? What happened before?
I never made it a big business in itself. Now I'm really going serious with it, trying to make on continuous revenue. Before it was more so like I was doing the work and I didn't really charge people for it. I just kind of got the experience. I helped them and I got better. And now I'm like, you know what? You have a bunch of clients. They know you. They trust you. Now it's time to make it an actual thing. Like, let's just hit the ground running from here on out. Make it a formal business.
Amazing, amazing. So what type of things are you helping people with? Let's break down some of the services that you do provide.
So there's a few now. There are different structures. We have group coaching where we talk to other people. It's more of like a community setting for some people who feel more comfortable in crowds. We have individual one-on-one where we can just talk about anything you want to, just me and you. And we have the as you want to, the individualized. You can buy courses. You can try to see how it applies. And if you want to talk, the courses have a free one-on-one consultation with just me without any charges. But I believe it goes on a bunch of different avenues. There's the adjusting to corporate. There's the imposter syndrome. There's navigating the changes in your life, trying to go from one place to another, not knowing what to do and how to pivot. But that's kind of my area. Any kind of changes, any uncertainty, that's where I swoop in.
Wow, amazing. And I want to hear specifics, some of this, how you're swooping in. Go ahead.
Yeah, so in terms of it, my recent client, we've been talking about financial wellness. He wanted to go from having a job where he's just working to live. He wanted to just have fun. He went on his first trip recently. He budgeted his money. Things didn't work out too much. He had to kind of work overtime to fill that gap. But the goal was to kind of get him to enjoy life, not just work every day, paycheck to paycheck, and then that's the start and end of it. So we've been working on him doing the rule of splitting his money between his bills, leaving a little bit of funds for himself just to buy him anything. It could be a simple Snickers bar. It could be shoes. It could be a book. But I remember we had to work through a lot of guilt of rewarding himself. And he's like, well, I have so much debt. And I'm like, that's fine. It's not going to go anywhere. But if you keep putting yourself last, you won't have the mentality to continue. It's going to backfire. And that was a pretty big chapter for us. But now he's more comfortable. He's traveling. He has the bills being paid off. He has an automatic deduction to his savings account. And now he has a fund to just help him just do the little things that keep him going throughout the day. The little coffees, the Snickers, the little books he sees in the store. But it's more of a balanced repayment plan versus just bills, bills, and more bills.
And more bills and more bills. Oh my
Absolutely.
gosh, it keeps happening, right? Ah.
Yeah.
Well, tell me what your focus is here for today. I know it's been a while since we spoke. How did you want to connect with your audience today?
Well, today my focus is all about growth and perseverance. I know in the past few chapters, I've had a lot of growth for my own self. I've had to say goodbye to a lot of friends that I thought were going to be central to my life and where I was going in life. And I had to mourn those. Then when I was speaking to my clients, they had a similar situation. Like we were kind of aligned with what we're going through. But I believe it was just mainly making it through the day, finding a reason when there's nothing you feel like is keeping you going, just moving on and just persevering through it all. But I wanted to touch on just kind of like those days when it's just you just see no end. There's no light at the end of the tunnel. It's just I'm just here and it keeps going. It's getting bigger and bigger and just finding a way to make it through there.
And there is a lot. Let's talk about some of the things personally that you have been through, if you don't mind. Some of your, I know you've opened up to me in the past, and I feel like counseling is for everyone. We all have something. I'm actually taking my
Yeah.
kids tonight for their first counseling appointment. They're not happy with it. They're 9 and 11, but you know how long
Yeah.
it's taken to get counselors to speak to them. And
A
there's
long
counselors.
time.
There's licensed social workers. I was looking for an intern, looking for a psychologist. There's been so much, and it's
Mhm.
been so hard to find people to talk to that specialize in what my kids need. So I'm excited for tonight, but I also know the on the other side when you're going through it, it's not an easy thing, right? A
It's
lot of
really
people
hard.
tell me what they're coming to you at. They're the fear of the unknown, the embarrassment, the
Yeah.
feeling out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, I had a pretty unique situation with one of my clients where we were talking and I sensed for a while that something was off. Like they weren't really like themselves. They were still giving me like the smiles, but it wasn't reaching their eyes. It was just kind of like sad and dull. And I'm like, you know what? I don't think it's something that they would share. So I'm like, hey, I'm personally going through a hard time where I've lost a lot of, well, I didn't lose the friendships lost me in a sense. I had to realize that I grew past them and I was putting myself second, trying to make them go first. So I brought up the fact that I had to mourn things I thought were going to be in my life long term, how I was struggling to kind of make it through the day. It wasn't as happy as it usually is. It was just kind of bleak and bland. And I wanted to say it on purpose because I knew that there was something bothering them and they wouldn't have the comfort to say it without me bringing up my experience first. So when I mentioned that they were talking about how they were struggling to even find a reason to go up, they thought about just following it just the day before. And we had a really in-depth talk about like just mental health, how it's harder for men, how they have to have support systems, how they have to, even when it feels embarrassing to reach out to let someone know, hey, I am struggling, I need help. Because people are there who love you and they want to support, but they don't know that you need the help. Because you wear the brave face, they can't tell you're hurting, but you have to reach out because you need that. It's not a matter of pride, it's necessity. If you're at the point where you literally cannot function, there's no thing to keep you going, and there's people who love you, that's a disconnect. Like they're right there. You just have to let them know you need them. And it's there's nothing wrong with admitting you need help or following the people. They're supposed to be there. They're your people. So we had to have a talk about mental health. We got them into therapy now. In the moment, it was very hard because there was so many appointments. We had to have referrals. We had to wait
Ah,
for a list. We had to have interviews. And I'm like, in my head, I can't understand why because I'm like, he's at his wit's end. There's nothing keeping him besides just me talking to him. So I need like the process to speed up. But in the absence of that, I took the role of helping him talk through his issues until we found someone who could do it more permanently. But that was pretty intense because I'm kind of an empath, so I kind of took on a lot of it and vice versa. But it did help us both grow from our experience to share what the struggles were, the things that people don't want to talk about, the hurt, the embarrassment of just feeling like you put your best out there and people just threw it away like it was nothing, and then kind of made you the victim, made you the villain when they were the victim, and all that kind of stuff. But it was just very, very tough, but necessary, I think, for both of us.
and tell me about your empathic ways.
My empathic, I'm not really sure. It's just like the biggest thing I do is I just listen to people. Whenever you tell me stuff, I hear you mention, "Hey, I like this." I'm like, "What's stopping you from doing it?" Well, life. What's so big about life? And when we go into very specific stuff, they realize it's a small little block. Like I have this friend who they like to talk in giant terms on purpose, and I'm like, "Okay, let's break it down." They're like, "Well, I can't take a day off from work." I'm like, "Why?" Because you have to put it in early. So put it in early. Well, you can't do that. It's also seniority, and I'm like, "Okay." Why don't you put it in and then work around the senior schedule? Well, I mean, if I do that, I get a day I don't want, but I'm like, if we can accommodate your schedule based on when you're available because you have the biggest blockers, we can take a trip. And he's like, no. Well, there's also, I'm like, there's also what? But like he talks in big words on purpose to make the problems more complex because he wants to feel stuck. And I'm like, no, there's a way. You just have to kind of work through it and find the actual solution there. But that was another example of just trying to weed through all the stuff because in your head it's this giant thing. And when you really talk it out and kind of map it out, it's not as big as it was. The issue itself is small. It's a matter of the fears that you put on the situation, the expectations of how you should feel, how you want to be. All of that makes it bigger than it really is in reality.
That's true. Well, let's talk. I mean, this is your specialty. Do you prefer working with children, adolescents, and do you want to share some, with, you don't mention names, but some of the things that people are going through and need help with?
Well, I prefer to work with teens up. I believe that I'm very direct. I'm not the softest person. I'm very like matter of factly. Like I can be soft when needed, but I'm very blunt. Where it's like if I keep hearing the same thing again and again, and you keep doing the same thing, I'm like, do you want to change at this point? Because we've had this session about 5 times and you have the same issue, and I've given you all these options and you haven't done any of them. So I'm very firm, and I feel like I'm better suited for people who are maybe a bit more mature mentally or age wise to help them develop. Like I need someone who's going to work with me along the way, and I feel like when it comes to the younger age is a little bit hard to get them to get to that commitment point.
Hmm. And, those out there seeking treatment, let me ask, how do you work this? Because some people, how does it work to go to someone like you? You are a counselor. What is your exact credentialing?
I'm a life coach, just a life
Life
coach.
coach,
I just
okay.
kind of touch everything. Yeah.
Compared to what you can or cannot do with someone who's a mental health, there's so many different things. So people get confused what they can see, who can they talk to. Could you just share the
Yeah.
ramifications of what you can do as a life coach and talk to people about?
Well, as a life coach, I help you kind of actualize your dreams, trying to get to where you want to be. A counselor is someone who's better suited to help you work around your problems and create treatment plans to get better at it. They're more licensed, they can diagnose you, give you prescriptions, help you with a way that's been proven through science. What I do is not that. I mainly just listen to what you have to say. I give you general advice, and it's up to you if you want to take it or not. I can't diagnose or give you any suggestions. I can just kind of say, hey, it sounds like you need help with someone more specialized. I can tell you for this one, that's not an appropriate thing to do if that's your desired income or output.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the difference. They're more specialized in with treatment plans, working through problems. I'm more helping you kind of create a blocker. I'm more temporary compared to a life which is more long term.
Got it. So we're not fixing the past. We are moving forward in a sense, right? And
Yeah.
some of the things in particular, I mean, I'm assuming mental health was a big thing. A lot of people have this anxiety. As a life coach, can you help them with this anxiety and this fear in a sense of overwhelm?
For the most part, I mean, I just talk you through and try to figure out what the blocker is because usually it's something where you have a fear of you're not good enough, where it doesn't look like how you think you would look in a situation. It's more of like that uncertainty of, I've never seen it before for me, so what would it look like? You try to create the picture and there's more questions than answers. That I can help you break through because why do you feel like that? And they'll tell them, well, I have to look this way. Why? And then we break down, we have the famous 3 whys. The why, the first one surface, the second one is like, maybe it's just the third one's more absolute in what the issue actually is. But I just kind of break it down, like what's the actual reason behind it? Because it's not the situation. You're qualified because you got the role. But how did you determine that you're not in the place to accept it?
So what does it usually fall back to? Childhood problems, childhood, issues not being feeling good enough, or what are we seeing then in a lot of the people
A
that
lot
you're
of it.
working with?
A lot of it, I think, is more so how they've lived life. Like it's a combination of a lot of things. Some people have their issues when they're older. Some are mainly in their childhood. Like when they were kids, they were the quiet kid that got ignored. They were the ones that took care of themselves. They were very independent. They didn't have that support growing up, so they're not in the space to comfortably ask for help. They're always by themselves, so they don't know what help look like. They see that as a weakness because they have to be so strong for so long. Getting excited. Let me calm down. I'm getting a little bit excited, but the things I've noticed so far is there's 3 of them. The first one is not having the support. The second one is not having the faith. And the second one is having people actively talk down about your value.
Mm-hmm.
So over time, it builds up into this big thing of like your inside voice. It's the one that's inside your head telling you all these negative things that you think is true, but it's actually not. You just kind of like internalize outside opinions about what you think you're allowed to do. So when you really talk about what's going on, like for example, the one who can't reach out for help, he never had the support to know what help looked like. He never really had that. If you need help, I have your back. It was always done being the giver. So being the receiver was very foreign to them. For someone else, it's a matter of they saw someone who they're in a role, they're sure of themselves, they have it all figured out. And I'm like, that's not true at all. It's an illusion. So how we got that, we found a bit of interviews about people who are in very high level position. They talk about how they feel like they're not good enough. They're like, even though I look like I have it together, I'm confused. I don't know what this is. I don't know what that is. And the video helped kind of break that image of having to be perfect to accept the role. And the other one was more so they heard all the stuff like, you can't do this. And I'm like, but you did it. They're like, yeah, but I wasn't supposed to. I'm like, what do you mean you're not supposed to? And they're like, well, I was supposed to fail, but I'm like, but you didn't. That's the part you're missing. You're here. You're the exception right now. So it's a matter of them turning that off and just tapping into their own beliefs about themselves because you did it. You had to have something to get it done. You have it. You just have to tell them to mind their own, you know?
No, I understand completely. All right. Well, with Down and Out Consulting, by the way, you're working with people in person in the Bronx, or you do this all virtually? And can you work with people everywhere around the world? Is there any limitations as a life coach?
For right now, it's only in New York City,
Mm-hmm.
but it's New York. But
Yeah.
my focus has been New York City. That's where my clients have been mainly stationed. But it's virtual. It could go anywhere in the state. I'm trying to expand to different regions, but it's very limited to New York State right now.
Yeah. All right. Well, walk us through some other subjects of the things we're working on. What else do you want our listeners and viewers to know about this type of work and the benefits of coming to someone like yourself?
I think the benefit is clarity. That's the most thing. A lot of the time, people think that I will solve the problems for them when the thing is that you've already solved it, but I'm helping you to realize that. Because if you come to me and I tell you how to solve it, there's really no value in that because you haven't actually figured it out yourself. Like, I'll try to help you to map it out. What's the issue? I'll know the answer just speaking to you, but I want you to figure it out for yourself so you can be more actualized to implement it.
Well, I need some guidance as well because, as a mom, do you work with any moms or anything?
I work for the field, Mom.
Yeah, it's always a hard thing to balance. One of these big things called time management. As a mom who's, trying to get your kids off the bus, onto the bus, going to work, then having them off the bus, having to take them to sports, having to feed them, bathe them, clothe them, and it's like 24/7. It's not an easy task for someone, any parent out there, but especially when a parent, is alone. And I've been alone with them since birth. So it's a very hard process when I also have to fend off people in my life who don't understand, well, why don't you do this? Why can't you do that? Why? And I'm just like, I don't have time. There's no such thing as time. They're like, oh, well, they do it. I said, well, that's great. They do it. I said, but this is how we are. And a lot of people want to judge and criticize me because it's like, well, everyone else is doing it. I'm like, yeah. Everyone's stories is situations different. I have my friend's husband taking her son to the cross, and then the other one's taking this. I said, I'm the one trying to do everything, but I feel like a lot of my friends kind of judge and look down upon me that I'm not doing a lot of things with them. I'm like, I'm so focused as a single parent that I've always been, and I just hate having to explain myself and like talking about it. It just makes me sick. But there's people in your life, I think, that sometimes maybe you need to get out of our lives. Could you share that?
Absolutely. I had a similar situation like that. And it wasn't exactly specific to being a single mom. I'm not a parent as of yet. But for me, I was recently diagnosed with a condition. So I'm working remotely from my house. I'm no longer able to commute to office. I'm now just remote. And I had this friend, quote unquote, that would always make jibs about me not, well, you don't have to commute. How hard can it be? You're just signing from your computer. And I'm like, despite it being something where I'm at home, the exhaustion from the work is still there. The thing is, I don't commute. Because I'm at home, I'm expected to sign on earlier, be on later because I'm right here on my computer. But there's a lot of stuff that's not really being considered. And I realized over time, I having to explain the fact that I have a whole situation. This is not me being lazy or doing anything else. This is my life. But they saw it as a joke because it's like you're just lucky, and I'm like that. I don't think that's luck. But I understand the sense of like having to defend your stance to people because they refuse to see it, and it's not something that's really healthy for you to feel like you're less than because over time you start to believe that you know what, maybe I'm not doing enough, maybe I'm doing it wrong, and that's not. Everyone is different. That's not true.
Wow.
But I feel like if you have that where you feel like you have to explain that constantly and they're not trying to see it, it might not be the best environment for you to function. That might be helping to hold you back into these similar patterns where it's just you can't figure it out at the moment. They shame you for it, and you just kind of repeat. And it just gets worse of like, I'm just not doing it. I'm not good at it. And it just builds upon that. And it's not a healthy place to be in.
So let's talk healthy. Tell me more. What is healthy? What is normal? Give us some insight into this crazy world we're living in.
It honestly, I think it becomes healthy when you stop listening to other people's point of views. I think when you like kind of tap into yourself and what makes you feel okay, because everyone's healthy and normal is different. For me, it could be being at home. I'm a homebody. I like being in my place, having my peace, just quiet, still no sound for maybe a 30 minutes a day. That's my peace. I feel calm. For some people, it's going outside, it's being social, it's being in the sun. And for nature bound people, it's being in nature. So it depends on the person you are. You just kind of find out what makes you feel at peace. What makes you feel better? Does the interaction makes you feel like more at peace or more frustrated? If it's frustrated, maybe limit that. If you feel more at peace, increase that. And you find your balance based on what your body is telling you because it knows, it's reacting. Your nervous system is the whole sign of how you feel about everything. It's like the natural instinct.
I
But just
agree.
kind of hone into that and create what makes you feel the most comfortable most of the time.
Yeah. Got to think about that one for a sec. It's just so hard to like focus sometimes and to get,
Hmm.
your life together when you have so many million things going on, but then there's still dreams and passions and stuff that we all want to do that we just feel like I could just never can get to. And that's always got to be the hardest thing. And how do you like measure how do they measure their success as you go along to work with the coach and explain the process of committing to this and how often are you meeting and tell me, a little bit about how long it takes to start changing those patterns in a sense or behaviors.
It takes about maybe 3 sessions from what I've noticed, 3 sessions average. So the definition of success, I think for me personally, I've learned to kind of hone in on what that means to me because initially I thought success was having like this 7-figure salary, having the top role, the highest place, the husband that has like the most funds, this big house, this car. I don't need any of that, quite honestly. Like when I feel successful, I feel like I'm
Yeah.
serving my purpose. I feel like my bills are paid. If I want to order 2 things at the supermarket, I can get it. Not having to pick between either. If I want to take a day off, that's not an issue. That's what success means to me. That's what makes me feel like peace, makes me feel like I've accomplished something in life. But it took time for me to realize all the stuff that I had in my head about what it meant to be like successful was all based on TV about having the house and the kids. Some people don't want to have kids, some people do. But it's a matter of like, there's a bit of shame if you don't fit that narrative that's being shared about what success look like. It's not a one
Oh, yeah.
strand thing at all. Everyone's different.
It is so darn true. All right, we still got 6 more minutes, 5 more minutes left in the show. What else do you want to add for us today?
Well, I
Whew.
was gonna say, from my experience, I grew up with a single mom
Ah,
for the most part. My dad is a little bit of a character, but I grew up with my single mom for the most part. The thing that I did watch her do made me kind of realize like I kind of appreciate her a lot more, but I wish she took time to kind of make sure she was okay because my mom's life was mainly she would wake up, she'd go to work, she'd come home, maybe eat some food, watch some shows, and repeat the cycle again and again. And watch that process drain her over time. My mom never even like took time out to just go to a movie because she wanted to. She doesn't do any of that. It's all about work, 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 bills, work. Even to this day, when I'm like an adult that takes care of myself, she's worried about me and my bills, and I'm like, I'm okay. I just want her to relax a little bit more and just kind of make sure you're okay because I'm watching you. I want to make sure that I know what mindfulness means, what it means to take a minute when you're upset. You know what? Let me take a minute. I'm going to calm down and just make sure I'm back at my zen. But watching those things helped me kind of become who I am or not having them. But I feel like a lot of pressure for single
mm-hmm.
moms to be perfect. There is no perfect, quite honestly. At some point, you're gonna drop some things you're supposed to hold some you're not supposed to hold. It's a lot of like I don't know how to explain it.
Hmm.
Like, there's no set way to be a perfect single mom. No matter what you do, there's always going to be a matter. If you could have done this or do that, you should tone all that out, quite honestly. It's not, they don't know what it's like. I wouldn't know yet. That's not anyone's business but yours. Whatever seems right to you. If your kids are healthy, your kids are fine, there's nothing too bad, you're doing an exceptional job. But it's a matter of making sure you're okay because your kids are watching that. Even if it feels like
Oh,
you're not
yeah.
doing the right thing right now, let's say you have to miss an event or do something to go to work, they're gonna watch you become a career inspired woman. They're gonna think that's something to aspire to go to. It might not make sense initially when they're kids, but they're gonna grow to understand the distance and the separation you have to do to help to get to that point. But they're
Mm-hmm.
always watching, so it's a matter of just have the best intention and then just try to actualize on that. Not
Okay.
to try to be perfect because you'll never win because that doesn't exist.
So true. Well, let's talk a little bit about, the way it is to contact you, to work with you, and how did you kind of want to leave off?
Oh yeah. So we now have a new website, downloadinfo.com. It's still in the works, but it's published on the web. You can just kind of see what the structure is set up. It's still being finalized now, but by next week it should be done. You can contact me on Instagram at consults_anonymous. and the same way on TikTok.
Perfect. And also, what would you say you love most about the job you're doing?
Honestly, I think it's just meeting people and learning from them.
Yeah.
Because in person, I'm a very introverted person. I'm very quiet. I keep to myself. After a certain time, my energy drains. In the virtual space, I'm a lot more present. I'm able to show up more because there's not as much stuff that's bothering me, like the brightness of the light, the sounds of outside. It's a lot more peaceful for me, so I can show up better for you. So I get to still have that human connection, even though it's a virtual situation, and we get to learn from each other. I learn about different lifestyles, different people, different mindsets, and that helps me to grow to help other people do the same.
Yeah.
But that's my favorite part for sure.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. Pleasure you're back. Are you back again soon, or this was just a random, like, wow, exciting to see you again?
It should be, I believe, every 2 weeks for about 5 sessions or so.
Great. Looking forward to it. If you feel free, if you want to bring someone on that you've worked with, that you've talked to, that, wants to chat about the time of working with you as a life coach, feel free to bring anyone on. You can always share the link with them, and we could set up something with them.
I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
No problem. Oh, it's good to have other people on and different perspectives to see what it's like to really be schooled and be helped by a life coach. So just an idea. No need to do what I say, but it always makes for a more interesting show. I feel that we can actually hear people that have gone through the process, So thank you again for being here, and we'll talk again then, I guess, in 2 weeks.
All right. I'll see you soon.
Sounds good, sweetheart. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you again. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
They'll challenge your authority. They'll try to break your will. They'll push you to the edge of your sanity. Because that's what kids do. But this car is your territory, not theirs. Defend it. Who makes the payments? Who cleans it? Who drives it? You do. That's who. And in here, your word is law. So when you say you won't move until everyone's buckled up, you won't budge an inch. Until you hear that click. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. For more information, visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup.